Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Word Balloon. It's the comic book conversation show. John Suntress here. Look who joined me today. And I even made a special graphic for him. It's Mike Avon Oeming, everybody. How are you, Mike?
Hey, buddy, how's it going, man? I'm doing good.
I'm doing all right. You and Tak doing okay? You guys are in Seattle, one of the tough states and everything. Really, one of the states that got hit hard first and hardest.
Yeah. I hate to bum everybody out talking about it right away, but
No, we'll get it out of the way.
it actually started where we used to live when we lived up in the Seattle area. We lived in Bellevue and Kirkland, and this started off in this Kirkland hospital.
Wow.
And it's been around here. I mean, luckily we can check our numbers, like how many people are affected and deaths, and it's I forget what the death number is, but it's not huge. The infection is real, but it's not like a ton of it around here because we got scared early on, you know.
Yeah.
So people were very careful and stuff.
I like the governor, man. I like Jay Inslee a lot, and in fact, I was kind of bummed that he didn't make it further rounds into a presidential bid. I mean, as an outsider, I think he's a smart guy and really gets where things are going environmentally and able to adapt that into the economy and make it work. And it's like that's the kind of guy we need. I mean, I hope that if Biden wins, that he taps Inslee for that kind of input and stuff, and really helps things out in general. Because regardless of what is going to happen,
it seems like if you're gonna.
What's that?
Yeah, it seems like if you're going to run for president, you have to be like super charismatic or an a-hole, right? Like either works. And I'm not even being critical. I'm just saying those are the facts, right? Like
I hear you,
either say stuff that outrages people, and then other people can get behind it. It's like, look, I'm part of something or whatever, So that's Inslee's problem. It's like, he's just a smart guy, but he's just no meat there for people, whatever it is they're looking for. I don't know anymore.
I don't know either, buddy.
Who knows how any of this stuff works anymore? I just don't.
No, I understand. It's a brave new world, unfortunately. All right, enough disappointing things. We can move on. Hey, how about this right away? Because this is one of the things that we wanted to get into, talking comics with Gorminator. Hey, Powers question: will we ever see the unaided pilot, the unaired pilot, obviously? And B, who is your favorite Powers character to draw?
As far as seeing the pilot, God, I would love for that to be able to happen. The FX pilot, it had some issues and stuff, but it's just really interesting. The Michael Dinner, and I wish I knew the photographer's name offhand. The cinematographer, it looked like Seven. It looked like a David Fincher film. Like it was just super black in angles, and it was almost German expressionism at times and stuff. And the cast was really fun. It was really good. So hopefully we'll get to show sometimes. I don't know how. I don't know how legally that happens. I don't know anything, But not just for my own sake of wanting to share what we've been through, but I think the fans would like to, somehow, some way, to see it. I have no idea how any of that works, but I would be all for it.
I'll tell you, I'm an idiot. Just getting that question makes me realize that I blew it. I spent 5 days at Brian's house, and I should have made him show me the pilot, and even he set me up and let me watch it. And I'm sure he's tired of seeing it at this point. But yeah, man, and also that it was shot here in Chicago. I remember when they were shooting it. Did you ever get to go to the set while they were shooting it here?
Yeah, I was on the set. My son got to be there. Taki came out. Some friends of ours came out. Joe Naki, hi, if you guys are watching. And we just had a great time. It was that. Even though it didn't air, it was the first time, and then we had other options. We had other film options and stuff, but this is the first time something was being filmed. And we had other Hollywood movie stuff that we were involved with, but it wasn't ours. Brian would go to Marvel movie sets and stuff. That's kind of his. Parts of it are based off his story and that sort of thing. But this was really the first. This was the dream, right? Like you're seeing it happen. You're seeing human beings you've seen in other films and stuff acting out your characters in your world and stuff, and all the people behind the scenes, like the people working on the set and building props and stuff, and it's everything you'd think it is. It's everything that you daydream about. It's kind of like everybody for some reason has a fantasy Oscar award thing that they're getting for some reason. This was like that, but actually happening. Like when you daydream about your work coming to life. And that happened. It was super special, man. I mean, it really was just everything you'd want it to be. And then it happened again.
That's what I was going to say, man. You get the Sony show, and I'm glad you guys got in while PlayStation was messing around with, trying to be like Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, and the like. So I'm glad you guys, and also obviously I would imagine the exposure on Crackle probably helped as well. The other Sony platform, the free platform that it was airing on. Is there any plan, Mike, for the 2 seasons of Powers is it anywhere now where people can watch it streaming? Do you know?
I think it was on streaming, it was on Crackle. I'm not sure exactly where it's at right now. I know it kind of floats around sometimes. But generally, you just do a search for it and you'll find where it's at. Like if you have a Roku, there's the search menu. It'll show you whatever channel it may or may not be on.
Yeah, that's a good point, man. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do that.
Yeah, and those were fantastic.
Yeah.
It was we were very early on all the experimental streaming stuff. So I remember at one point seeing that there was instructions on how to find it and stuff, and I was like, oh, that's scary. But it was Brave New World. All of it was like the Wild West. All of a sudden had just broken out.
Yeah.
A video game company was like, yeah, we're going to create original content now and start putting it out. And it's not even content based on something that they owned previously. They obviously optioned it from us and stuff. But it was all just crazy and scary. Those early days when we were first talking about this going on to PlayStation, believe me, we all sort of is this real? Does this count? But it certainly was. We certainly had the budget for it. There's a huge budget on the show, which you could really see in our amazing casting that we got. And that, again, that whole experience the second time around, it was fantastic. Became really good friends with some of the cast members. Got along with everybody. Everybody was super cool. Logan Browning actually came out to Portland at one point just to kind of get away from stuff and just hike and hang out a little bit. And we're still kind of in touch with everybody. It's really cool.
That's awesome.
It'll be great to get to work with you again.
Good Lord, yes. That would be fantastic. And Brian told me that sometimes in the writer's room, you and Ben Edlund would both be sketching in the writer's room. Am I right about that? The creator of The Tick, for people who don't know, the great Ben Edlund, who's also been an incredible television screenwriter. Fantastic guy with Supernatural and Angel and so many great, and of course, his time on Powers.
Yeah, it was nuts when I knew he was on the writing staff and stuff, and I knew he had done writing television, but you walk in and you might hear my cat right now, and he's meowing.
That's okay. That's all right.
Every now and then you get these weird moments. There he is. You get these weird moments where it's these things that we had built 20 years ago in 1999 or whatever are coming to life, and then it gets weirder when I'm I remember the black and white boom of the 80s and The Tick and Ben Edlund and where that grew and seeing him again. And then now walking into the room and there he is. And there was this immediate solidarity with us because we're both, artists, comic book artists. And we're both introverted, being forced to be extroverted in this room and expressing your ideas. So half the time we were just sketching weird stuff to each other. And it was just the best. It was oh my God, yes, one of us,
Absolutely. That's fantastic.
That success that then led into the Tick television series. It's the same producer and stuff, and it was awesome watching that happen. And that was super fun.
That's all right. She can be part of the show. What's the cat's name?
Sorry, Roman.
Roman. Don't worry about it.
Put him down. She's not allowed.
Adorable. That's a good-looking cat, man.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So what is this? The Tech TV thing that you were just talking about?
Oh, The Tick. I think that's what
TV thing. Did you work on the Tick show?
No.
Oh, okay. Oh,
but it was just great. Yeah, and it tied in because we had the producer Chris Parnell was working with both of them. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Oh no. Honestly, every iteration of the Tick, animated, Fox show, Amazon show, they've been amazing, and they get it because they're dealing much like you guys. It felt like the first season. Of Powers was a little too sunlighty for me, but I think the second and no, a lot of TV shows have rough, and I wouldn't even call it rough. it was just, I think, an aesthetic choice that I'm like, wow, there's a lot of sunlight here, and especially based on Gerard. Where's the alleyways? Where's the shadows? Where's the dark stuff?
Yeah,
and I think in the
second season,
like, it happened in the second season. I'm sorry, buddy. I'm talking over you. Go ahead.
I apologize.
No.
Yeah, it was just finding its feet. And Brian and I did a lot of, we wanted the show to have its own life to it, because we felt like if it was constantly following the comic, it's only a matter of time before that would kind of suffocate it a little bit, and so we want to just, there are a lot of times where I wouldn't say we're hands off. We're like, all right, let's just see where this goes. Sometimes it went in a great direction, better than what we had imagined. Then the lighting thing, I think, was just coming around. I think people realized early on, like, oh yeah, that is an element that we need more of, as opposed to these special moments. This is a noir world, not a noir scene, still got to do some fantastic stuff.
That's cool, man. And also got great guest star big bads and stuff. I mean, Eddie Izzard first season, and then Tricia Helfer in the second season and everything.
Yeah,
and,
Michael Madsen and
yes, Michael Madsen. Good Lord, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, no, it was amazing. I mean, the cast was so great, and I got to tell you, man, Eddie Izzard. If we had spent more time together, he would have changed my life.
Really?
Yeah, he is a special person, man. Like, he's probably always the smartest person when he walks into a room. This guy speaks a bunch of languages. He'll do stand-up comedy and switch the language in the middle of it. Brought us to like a sort of a warm-up show, and Gillian Anderson was there, which I was too scared to even talk to her or look at her or anything. But she put on the show, and like, he's just switching up languages. And the thing is, like, he never uses his intellect as like a battering ram or as a bully in any kind of way. Like, he was just awesome. And then he even taught me how to pronounce my name correctly. Because evidently, when there's an O and E next to each other, it's called Taki, a diphthong.
Yeah, diphthong.
Diphthong, right? And like, at first I thought he's fucking with me, and I'm like, come on, dude.
What's the pronunciation?
It's like Oeming. It's like with that slight R to it or something.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I found out how to pronounce my name from him. But then after the show, like, not only was always gracious and always cool and super interested, like, he didn't listen to you like he was being polite, like he was actually listening to you when you spoke. But what really blew my mind, why I'm saying, like, I think he would have, like, changed me on some level, was that afterwards I saw he started doing these marathon things where he just started running a marathon a day for a month with practically no training. It was almost all just a force of will, and it would take him sometimes 24 hours or more to complete one of these things.
Wow.
And just seeing, like, this ability to say, I'm going to do this no matter what, it was just freaking mind blowing. And I'm like, these are more of the kind of people we need in the world. We need people like he was running for mayor or something, or he's talking about it at one point. And we need more people like him who can, guide us, like smart people.
I understand what
educated
you're saying.
people.
Brian, when you guys all did New York Comic Con, Brian's like, well, you're coming, right? Because we'll hang with and I couldn't do it because unfortunately, old man disease. I had a hernia, and it just I knew I was gonna have my operation around the time of New York Comic Con. I'm like, I can't make it. He's like, oh man, he goes, I was gonna let you hang with all of us and Eddie and everything, and I'm like, okay. I'm really sorry. Guess who's who's watching us right now? It's Nick Filardi, everybody.
Nick!
How about it?
God damn,
that's fantastic.
Nick is a funny motherfucker.
Is he? I gotta, Nick.
Yeah.
If you're still watching, we will make time because I am always terrible and should have great colorists on, and I love when you and Mike collaborate. God, Cave Carson was beautiful, and among your other fine projects and stuff. So it would be a pleasure. To talk to you.
Yeah, we had just a blast on there. And I'm also always encouraging Nick to write. Like, whenever we get to hang out, he'll just start spitballing ideas at me and stuff. And like each one isn't just an idea; it's like an actual concept, you know. So yeah, let's work him on that. You know, he's got to start some writing.
That sounds good. Mike Delfonso has a good question here, and it's going to lead into one of the things we were going to be talking about. Are there any projects that you and Bennis would be working on in the near future? I think they're working on one right now.
Yes. Well, there's a couple. Obviously, there's the Powers ongoing saga of the giant 20th anniversary graphic novel. We can get into that in a little bit. So that's obviously coming out very soon. There's more Murder Incorporated. In fact, the very next arc, I'm finishing up issue 5 right now. So by the time we solicit it, I think it'll all be done.
Oh, that's great.
The first arc.
Yeah, man, that's fantastic.
Far ahead, and we plan on doing more Murder. And we have some other stuff that we created together that we haven't shown anywhere or spoken about to anybody. So so that will happen. Hold on a second. Sorry.
No problem, man. As you're looking, I'm glad that Nick is interested in doing a word balloon. That'll be fantastic. And yeah, man, I'll point people to the issues you guys did on Cave Carson. I thought the entire
you did all of them. It was awesome. Yeah. That was one of the best things about Cave was. So I've never drawn a monthly book for a major company since Judge Dredd, which was like 1993 or something like that. So this is the first time I drew a monthly book, and we did it for like 2 years. There was that little pause while the Milk Wars things is going on and stuff. And Gerard Way and Jonathan Rivera, who I've become very close friends with. Love that dude. Can't wait to work with him again.
Cool.
And the whole experience was just great. It really, really was. I know you're supposed to say that, but like I really, really mean it. I've done other jobs where I've written and drawn Batman. Working with my buddy Brian Glass on a Superman story, like bucket list stuff. I wrote and drew my own issue of The Spirit for DC. It's fucking awesome. But in the mainstream world, like outside of Powers and such, that was like the best working experience I had. It was just the most fun. Absolutely fantastic.
I understand. Oh, Nick's got a question. I just got a comment. I just got the corrects for Powers 20, so the hard work is done. Should be out soon.
Exactly. Yeah. So a couple of things are going on with the graphic novel. One, there was a chunk of it that was drawn in between when the last Powers came out and now. Then a whole new bunch of extra story, which we just kind of kept adding to. And then even once we've never done Powers like this before, where I don't want to say it's piecemeal, but it was put together from these sort of like different weapons. It was like that scene in one of those Star Trek movies where the Klingons just started pulling stuff out from their shoes and their collars, and they built a gun together. It's kind of like that. It has to say so much. Like it has to be sort of a commentary on the series. It has to be a commentary and an arc for the characters as well. It had to deliver a punch for fans who have stuck with us through our legendary scheduling things and stuff, So that all came together, and then we just kept adding to it. Sometimes we add new scenes, sometimes we take out pages. Then unfortunately, sometimes we'd have multiple files of the same sort of stuff. So all that was going on. We got it all together. Then we started the hard work, which was the design and the extras. So again, like typically when it comes to the design and extras, I don't care. Not that I don't care, but I trust Brian. He's got such a clear vision for this stuff. And then other people we have working for it, just bring it all together and make it look good. I'm just about making pages. But this was a monster. And it was the first one I was really, really invested in because, again, this is a retrospect. And I had to write, like, I didn't have to. I wanted to write this kind of retrospective article, journal, words about the whole Powers experience, and I went through a lot of iterations of that with Taki and with Brian because it means a lot of different things to me, and it's hard to kind of put that down into one, even a long article. It just means so much. Like my life from the age that I started it till now revolved around Powers. And even when it didn't revolve around Powers, it was typically because of something that spun out of the Powers experience, So a lot of it was both personal and business, and it was hard to kind of even tell the difference of where the personal stuff and some of the business stuff was appropriate or mattered. My work and my emotions, my spirit, or whatever you want to call it, like they're all very tied in together. And I like to convey that to people because I know there are a lot of artists who struggle, whether it's with therapy or yourself or whatever, and just, I like to tell people, I go through that stuff too. It's hard, and I deal with these things, and it's difficult to then write that into a piece like this where that doesn't become the focus, or it becomes like this weird sideline, So both Brian and Taki, and a bit from our editor, Michael McAllister, who is a fucking saint, help me put all that together. And that was just one small slice of this larger pie. That's the graphic novel. It's nuts.
So that's going to be in the graphic novel, this article you're describing.
Yeah, that, and God, I forget how long the graphic novel is now. I mean, Nick, if you're still listening, you can probably say offhand. But then the extras are about a quarter of that length. So there's tons of sketches. Like we've done, work with Randy Bowen on some statues, and we worked with a couple other companies with different statues, and PVC, one of those figures with Dark Horse. So a lot of those designs are in there. That was hard to go through because like one statue for like Walker is I have to draw, a front shot, a side shot, a back shot, a 3/4 shot, a looking straight down shot. So like for each characters, there's like 30 sketches or something insane.
Wow.
And just figuring out how do we lay that out? What's important? What makes it? What doesn't? That's just, and then there's just tons of other stuff. Like that's the only things I can even think of off the top of my head. And the actual design of the book.
Are you going to be designing the book, or are you?
No, for an artist who can design a page to tell a story. I definitely don't have the eye, and I have such admiration for people who can put real design work together to make a book look great. And this is we're looking at the extras, and there's really cool personal stuff in there. I got to bring my son out to the set, so there's a picture of my son in there, which was really important to me because again, Power started when he was 4 or 5. So like, he's part of the story in some way. My uncle that passed away in 2016. Yeah. I took him to several cons with me. There was a character, Nick, forgetting his last name, but he's got the eye patch, and we named my uncle, modeled him after him and stuff. So I got to make sure that he was in there. Tons and tons and tons of sketches. There was close to like 1,000 files at one point that I handed in to DC. I had loaded it up because it was photos from the sets. It was photos from behind the scenes. There were shots of all the different sketches, because I didn't just do those like turnaround sketches. There was stuff in the show that I did. Like there's a restaurant you go to, and there's Retro Girl napkins. So I designed the napkins. There were T-shirts and paraphernalia that's in the show that I designed for the show. Some of the other superhero characters, there's had to be figured out. So there's just a lot of that was one of the other great things that I loved about working on Power is, especially by the second season. I was very involved in the first season, but the second season even more so. And it was just great to have done that much work and to be a part of that. And trying to figure out what you can pick and choose and put into the Powers book is really, really hard.
I get it, man. No, it's awesome. A couple shout outs before we get to our next question. First, Henry Barajas has a couple comments. He says, you're the best darkness artist of all time. We can get into that, but he also says, hey to Taki. What's up, Taki?
Hey.
A little shout out for you, Tak, from Michael.
There she is.
Proof of life. Hi, buddy. Fantastic. Seriously, happy if you want to join the conversation, Tak. I know sometimes you're gun shy, but it'd be great to definitely talk about what you guys are doing, because the Kickstarter you guys have, right? Aren't you guys working on that together?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Taki helped me make sure that happens.
So yeah, let's talk about that for a second. And also I'll get back to questions, I promise, guys. But I do want to, give Taki a chance. Great to see you, buddy.
Yeah, you good. Good to see
Absolutely.
You. Sitting is for losers.
So am I right? Hidden Realms, is that what your project is? Or am I
After Realm? After
Realm. I'm sorry, buddy. I didn't have it up. So tell us about After Realm, which is an active Kickstarter project right now.
Yeah. So it's what you would call a passion project. I had started it probably in 2014 or maybe even earlier than that. And it was a little different incarnations at that point.
Yeah.
And every time I wanted to do it, something really cool would happen in my life. I'm not complaining, but there was like the Power Show, this opportunity to do this book about Aleister Crowley and Adolf Hitler in World War II with Douglas Rushkoff, who's this amazing journalist and futurist, and
fantastic,
we became really good friends.
100%.
And Kate Carson, yeah. So these things kept popping up, and Taki would see me like go, "Oh, I can't do it this year. I can't do it this year," And then eventually, I was just like, "F it, I'm just gonna do it." And so I was really interested in Kickstarter and in crowdfunding, but I also have a very strong direct market following and a direct market fandom that would possibly never even know, no matter how much I'm tweeting about it or anything, that have this Kickstarter thing. So I talked to Image, sat down with Taki and I sat down with Eric Stevenson, and we talked it out. And he gave us some great suggestions on how we can work them together and stuff. And the first one was super successful, and then this one's coming around, and it's during a pandemic, so it's a little scary. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, and we're like, well, who knows?
Yeah.
No, but yeah, but I love that, I think of you guys and what you're doing, what Brubaker and Marcos Martin are doing with Fridays, and I'll be talking to Alex DeCampi about her panel syndicate book, and I think this is good timing and stuff. Tak, I'm so nervous of you like having to like stand and then lean around and stuff, like because I really do want you to be part of the conversation. So like,
Oh, I have you have
stuff to do.
My tailbone is hurt right now, so
that's why. So is it better to stand or is it better to sit?
It depends. I'm listening to it.
What she's saying in the subtext is when you have MS, everything fucking hurts.
Yeah, that's right. Honestly, God, when I first met Kelly Sue, she was pregnant, and I'm like, let's sit down, please, because Matt and I could stand around and stuff. Please sit down. So yeah, but good. I mean, again, when we heard obviously talk, obviously a bunch of us and really the whole community obviously felt for you when you got your diagnosis, but it looks like you're managing it well, and I'm really glad to see that and everything. And you look great, buddy.
Yeah, thank you very much.
The community really came together for us, both spiritually and financially. Heroes Initiative came through for us because
that's great.
We have insurance and stuff, but when you have something real,
out of pocket, and then I was in a hospital for a while, so the bills were piling up. I mean, it was thousands of dollars, and then I get the diagnosis, and then they told me that the treatment was out of pocket was thousands of dollars. So I was like, oh, awesome.
I hear you, buddy. Yeah. I had to spend 5 weeks in the hospital with my leg infection, and I'm past it. But no, and that's nothing compared to what you were dealing with the MS and everything. So it's hey, let's hear it for the American health. Yeah, let's hear it for the American health system, everybody. Fantastic. Yay. All right, enough politics. But so yeah, tell me about you getting involved in this, and and also in general collaborating with Mike. How's it, and I know he's sitting right there, but really, like, how's that been? Because it was always a pleasure watching your art on the Jinx World message boards and seeing you evolve, and then seeing you at conventions and stuff. And so yeah, tell me about the evolution of your art.
Well, coloring just kind of came out of necessity, right? They were looking for a colorist for Murder Inc. And I was like, well, I've never done it. I certainly don't really have a lot of interest in it, but
she meant Murder Inc., not coloring.
But I was like, well, let's give it a shot. Let's see if it makes it. Hello, Brett Wiesler, my cousin. And I just kind of fell into it, and now I'm really into it. I really enjoy the process. I think I can tell a story through color, and obviously I'm still writing and drawing on top of just coloring. Like, coloring is still I consider it a side gig more than anything else.
Sure.
French benefit.
Yeah. But yeah, I also noticed that like you know, my workflow is just incredibly slow. Probably due to my illness, but you know, it's just something. What are you gonna do?
No, I hear you, buddy. Well, no, you gotta try and work through it. I totally understand. Absolutely.
Yeah.
One of the things that I really love too is because she didn't have any real color experience before this. I mean, she knew color theory. She went to art school and stuff. But one of the things that I miss about the older I get and the more experience I get is when there's a certain amount of lack of experience. And I only find this when I'm trying something new. Because you don't really know the rules, you create your own rules. And sometimes you get lucky and you actually end up with a voice, which is so rare. And Taki just threw herself into the deep end of this thing with almost no directional notes from us. I think all we said was kind of a Steranko, because we were like looking at like beautiful old comics and we we're like, 4-color process, we got so spoiled, we've neglected like a simple coloring process, right? That's all we gave Taki. And then she came up with this thing and we were like, wow, that's nuts. Like there's no skin tones, there's no consistent coloring. It's all about, well, there's consistent coloring within the scene. It's about
it's about the scene and like the what's going on in the scene. So if there's a lot of deception in Murder Inc. So there's a lot of like contrasting icky colors together. So like lime green with like yellow and stuff like that to convey that kind of icky
feeling.
Feeling going on. So scene by scene, I just kind of try to convey those, you know, criminal activities.
No,
and then after Realm came about, I think I was playing around with coloring it as well.
Yeah.
And then Ty was like, no, you can't get flat, dude. I'm not gonna let you color this and watch you over there like pulling your face off while you're screaming about your flatting and stuff.
Yeah.
So she just she jumped in. The amazing thing was that this started under a different. It went through a lot of evolutions, which I'll spare you of. But one of them, at one point, it was going to be online, and she colored originally in like the Murder Inc. style, which I absolutely loved. Then we were going with Image and Kickstarter and rejiggering it. She went in a different style, like kind of a third coloring style that she has now and stuff. So,
yeah, I think it works better for that story. You know, Murder a color is just I mean it can work, but I think it's limiting the story. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. How many days left in the Kickstarter campaign?
I think 7.
Okay.
7 or 8.
Yeah, 7 or 8.
Over the weekend, I saw that we were under 2 weeks. So I'm like, oh shit, let's make this thing.
Oh, I appreciate it.
Absolutely, man.
Like I said, with the pandemic, like we had no problem meeting the goal last time. I knew launching because we were launching at the beginning of the shutdown. You know, I know people got to be tight with their money. You don't know what's going to be like months from now and stuff.
I hear you, man.
But again, you know, you just got to go forward and adjust as it happens. So if we don't meet the goal, I'm not going to be crushed. It makes sense. You know, I mean, I'm not spending any money. So we'll see what happens. But, you know, it looks pretty good. So we'll see what happens. But we'll still get it to come out one way or another. It's still coming out through Image. Yeah. So, you know, we're really excited. And we've got really cool, fun rewards and stuff.
Oh, the Triorama?
Yeah, tell us.
Yeah. One thing I got really excited about, it's so nerdy. I got excited about this idea of like these like diorama cutouts. So I created one, and unfortunately, because of the pandemic, I can't get a good print because I have just like a crap printer. So I just have like these black and white. I can kind of pull one down for you. Grab one of those up there. So these are fun, and there's a PDF. Yeah, that one's fine. So I'm giving out like a PDF of these that you can print out yourself. And this is the black and white version, obviously.
Wow.
You can color it yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I didn't think of that.
You're right. And also, great shape. Great shape as opposed to the traditional shoebox diorama. So I love the design of it too, man.
and with 4 of them, we can put them back to back and create like a 3D thing.
Wow.
So that was really fun. But I was also really excited to get old pal Phil Hester to do a cover for us.
Hey, great.
Yeah, and not only is Phil a great artist and a pal, but we go back to our origins in Caliber. It's that Caliber crew of people that came out those 90s comics. So it was really cool to do something with Phil on there. So we got that, and some Power stickers, some other some bookmarks and stuff, and a bunch of art. Put some original art up there as well.
And I think Phil's art style is very complementary to your art style as well. It's close, but obviously distinct.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah. Phil is awesome, so we're very lucky on that.
It's so funny. I literally just talked to Joe Pruitt from the Caliber days and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
What he's doing now with Aftershock, and Aftershock is a sponsor of Word Balloon, so I always have to.
It's doing really well, man. Congratulations on that too.
Yeah.
Oh,
he's grab my water or something like that.
Okay.
By all means, buddy. Yeah. Like I said, God, I do. I'm like, please don't stand on my account. Exactly. So, but no, it's great, and yeah, if she wants to come back, that's cool too. So always plenty to talk about, man. All right, so. There's some more Powers questions.
Well, let's go back real quick. I did see there was a question or something from Michael Perlman. Michael's been like a serious, fast, hardcore fan and reader and supporter. So, okay, just saying hi, Michael.
Well, and also he says Brian says the book is 240 pages. So there's that. And I'm scanning through here. And then also now here's a nice comment from Talking Comics with Gorminator. He's like, I've been on Powers since issue 1, April of 2000. Can't believe it's been 20 years. One of my favorite all-time comics. Looking forward to this so much. Will miss the book when it's done. Yeah, man, 20 years. Good Lord. And again, a book that came out at a time where you guys were part of, should we call it the second wave of Image or whatever? But I really think it was books like Powers that brought me back to comics. I had really checked out in the early 90s. Nothing against, because truly I love talking to the Image creators, but those books, because art became so dominant, they didn't speak to me. But the great thing was, it seemed like the wave that came in the very late 90s, there was a balance between the art and the story. And also, Mike, really your style of comics, I never would have connected with crime comics. And it was so great to see a cartoony style work this way. And especially on a book like Powers.
Yeah, we didn't plan that. Like it wasn't like, this makes sense to do X or Y. It was all very like just came out of conversations and meetings and stuff and necessity. You're right. Though. I mean, there was something weird about the cartoonishness of it, contrasting with the crime and the darkness. So it did work out really well. I mean, we didn't plan any of the success. We just hoped for it.
Absolutely. Oh, Josh Cruz, everyone's favorite night nurse, wants to send love to everybody.
Hey, Josh.
Absolutely. So
I'm gonna move the camera down now, and I'll do some drawing.
Oh, you want to do some drawing? Absolutely, man. While we're talking, no, that's great.
Can you still chime in and stuff? I'm just gonna move the camera.
I was gonna say, yeah, absolutely. I like it. This is good. It's very
I'm gonna do is mess with him. I mean this is a daily occurrence anyway. So
this is how she rolls.
Yeah.
Does she literally like
knock my pens all over the place and stuff?
Yeah. So.
That's fantastic. All right, for the audio listeners, Mike has switched his camera now, and he will be drawing for a while as we're talking, which is always a treat. That's great.
That's the cat.
Hey, that's all right.
Kick him out of the room.
I love it. It's very, very. I love when live shit happens, including the cat meowing. Everything's fun.
Let's go.
There you go.
The cat is funny. When he doesn't get picked up, he just turns to liquid. His bones just go weak and everything. And he just like slides through your fingers.
Mike, when you draw, do you normally have that glove on?
Yeah. So, this is something I started to do once I started working digitally. Because when you're working on a screen, often your hand will kind of stick a little, so this helps things move smoothly. And then I noticed with paper that also happens, whether there's humidity in the room or just, I don't know why, but your hand will either smear the lead. That's a big part of it too. Like you realize how much lead your hands are absorbing when you're working traditionally. So
your skin has natural oils that is excreting.
Yeah, I don't want to excrete
totally
paper.
Disgusting, but it's true,
Yeah.
Humans are gross.
Yeah, especially since I don't draw porn comics anymore. It's weird to be excreting on my paper.
Nice. Well, and
yeah.
Mike,
So
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just saying that's why I wear it.
Okay, I was going to say we
He also
covered
has a really gruesome like scar on his pinky. So there's
Does
that.
I'm vain about my hands.
Yeah.
I know in our previous conversations, things that we did for the interview portion of the book, The Art of Michael Avon or Oeming, which is available through Dark Horse Comics, a fine book. But we talked about how your art style changed from a very traditional style, especially, I mean, inking is different than obviously sketching or drawing, but then that you went to that kind of big cartoony style. And this was when you were working in the parking lot as you weren't an attendant. It was a commercial parking lot, as I remember.
Yeah.
But yeah, right. Isn't that kind of where you kind of developed your current style and everything?
Yeah, this is one of those things that came out of necessity, and I want to use the word tragedy, but in the mid '90s there was that big crash, right?
Yes.
Now I had been up to that point fully employed in comics since I was like 17. Not always making a great living, but I was there. During that crash, all the jobs they went away. Companies were closing left and right. And I had to get a regular job, and I found this security job because in my mind I was like, "Oh, I bet I can draw," while I'm working.
Sure.
So that's why I wanted to do security work, and I found this job at this place. It was an auto dealership, and trucks would come in. Truckers are like all hopped up on meth and speed or whatever as they're driving across the country. And they're all nice, but they were definitely, whatever. Anyway, so working in this like that meant, and my son was born, my son was born in 96. So I had to bring in real money, I had to bring in something. Yeah. So I went and I got this job, and having less time to work meant, instead of getting too frustrated, because I was very line oriented then. It was very much like Art Adams, Michael Golden, Kevin Nolan, fine, thin line work and stuff. And I just realized I don't have the time for the rendering. I don't have the time for the pages the way I used to between having a son and a job. So I had been trying to get some work on Batman Adventures or Superman Adventures. And ironically enough, I couldn't really nail the style. But out of that, I started to experience a real joy in this simpler, less rendered style. And it opened my mind up to other artists who I'd not had a proper appreciation before, like, Alex Toth, John Buscema. I grew up being attracted to like the work of like Art Adams and Rick Leonardi and Michael Golden, these very specific style-oriented artists. So
oh, yeah.
I hate to say it, but early on I had no appreciation for Buscema because I saw so much of the Marvel style done in a sort of watered-down way that it retroactively for me affected when I looked at John's work. So after I started to develop this more and learn more about it, I grew a whole other appreciation for all kinds of artists like that. And obviously like Alex Toth was a big part of that. And Mignola had always been an influence on me, even before his style developed anywhere near into what it is now. Because again, when I first started reading comics, there was so much of the Marvel style. Anybody who stood out, that's what I deal with all day. Anybody who stood out like drew my interest.
That's
but
cool.
long story short, that's how I ended up drawing in this abbreviated style.
Well, this leads to another question. Chuck O'Donnell asks and says, "Hey, Mike, greetings from Central New Jersey. I went to high school with Brian Quinn. What would you have done for a career if you weren't a great comic book artist?"
This is a question I didn't have an answer for many, many years. And it's only recently that I started to even allow myself to think about that sort of thing. And it would be an archaeologist.
Wow.
I am fascinated by, and before we get on a little tangent about our love of fringe weird stuff, aliens and all that, I have a huge fascination. Yeah, I love that stuff. I enjoy it. But it's what if fantasy kind of campfire stuff.
Oh, absolutely. And if if people can't connect the dots, Mike's talking about our mutual fascination with things now represented by like ancient aliens and things like that. And when I was a kid, and Mike's a bit younger, but obviously he found these documentaries and novels or books as well. Eric von Daniken wrote a great book called Chariots of the Gods. That was his first among other speculative ideas of, are the pyramids, were they, do they represent ancient aliens that came down and were among us in, our centuries before, and the cave drawings and all these other interesting things all around the world that are these weird, unexplained drawings. And it's fun. It's, we're not flat earthers. We're not or anything like that.
Yeah, no, just a what if kind of thing, And actually, speaking of Van Daniken, he's a huge influence on Jack Kirby and Jack Kirby's work. It's all over Kirby stuff.
Yep.
But the point being, I knew we'd get derailed there at some point, but that I have a huge fascination and respect for like true archaeology. And
tell them about Time Team.
Oh, my favorite show is this old British show. It's still kind of on sometimes. It's called Time Team, and it's an archaeology show where for 3 days, Tony Robinson, if you might remember from like Blackadder and stuff, he's or Anthony, I'm sorry, they just dig up a site and have 3 days to find like historical findings in the ground. It's so boring. I fucking love it. I'm like, I'll yell to Taki and like drive her crazy. I'm like, hey baby, they found a tile, or they found a ditch. And she's like, where'd they find a ditch? Well, they dug a ditch and they could tell from how the earth is disturbed that there was a ditch there before. This is a medieval ditch. Come on. So yeah, that's what I'd be doing if I had some sort of choice or whatever. I would go archaeologist.
Now, and Mike and I were both part of a TV show, and it's so funny because it's kind of like, well, I've got my girlfriend in Canada that none of you have ever met, but but it's like that with this TV show. We did a show called The Unexplained, and it was produced by the production company called Go Go Lucky that also made Brad Meltzer's shows like Lost History and Decoded, and did my attachment to them came from when I worked on Prophets of Science Fiction. And good. Mike both independently got approached by these same producers to do this show called The Unexplained. And I make the Canada reference because it's only aired so far in Germany and Canada, although I got an email within the last 2 weeks from Kevin Tavallero telling me that it aired in London. So it's getting there slowly but surely, Mike.
From Spanish people that it aired there too.
Yeah, Victor Santos over in Spain sent me a link, which is how I got to see my segment and stuff, and it was really fun.
Oh, that's great, man! Because I had my buddy Blaine Dowler literally like put his iPhone in front of a TV and recorded my episode that way, and he sent it to me. And that was great, and I love that we're both in this show, and it was so crazy that we both were because it was completely two different subjects. Yours was drones, am I right?
Yeah, it was about the drones and how CIA is using them and abusing them, that sort of stuff.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Yeah, and that was really fun. It was really fun, it's sad. The world has gotten in such a kind of a weird, messed up place that it's really hurt my fascination of conspiracy stuff. It's always been sort of like outside the box, again, kind of a what if kind of thing. And I'm talking about some of the weirder stuff, not like boring old political conspiracies, but some of this other stuff. But it's leaked so much into mainstream thought, and it has caused so much damage.
Agreed.
I think, to our society at this point, that it's really made it hard, and that really sucks. I'm writing a conspiracy satire book as all this started to turn, and it's painful. It's really hard to write. It's hard to write something funny about things that just aren't funny anymore.
Mike, I hear you. I years ago started doing a Donald Trump imitation, and during the campaign in 2016, I would let it slip out, and guys at my radio station are like, if you want to do a bit, we'd have you on, and that would be great. I'm like, it's not funny anymore.
Yeah.
And I was going to ask you because you were on The Apprentice, and I don't know. I know that you were on describe your segments, and did you ever have a chance to meet any of the Trumps?
Yeah, actually, I'll let Taki go a little bit first on that. She'll tell you because she was also there and she had
cool.
a more interesting experience than I did.
Please.
Well, yeah, I don't know if I can go deep into it, but no, we didn't meet any of the Trumps. So who we met were just the apprentices.
Right.
And it was Tom Green and some football player. Do you remember the name of the guy?
No.
Yeah.
He was nice though.
Yeah, everybody was really super nice.
Was the poker player on your show? Was she one of the or Joan Rivers? Was Joan Rivers on your show?
Yeah. And so there were two teams. The idea was that they were going to create a commercial for Zappos using some sort of superhero thing.
Yes, the online shoe store, absolutely.
Yeah, so Image, and we have to thank Image for this. They reached out and they had these teams, and myself and Ivan Brandon. Who else was there? Paul
Joe
Harris?
Yeah, Paul Estesteta. I'm glad you mentioned him. Yeah.
Joe Harris?
Nope, not. Oh shoot.
This is like 12, 13 years ago or something.
No, I'm sorry, guys. Exactly.
Yeah, but it was a great experience. Tom Green turned out to be like the best human being.
That's awesome.
He's Tom Green when the cameras are on.
That's fantastic.
You know what I mean?
I do.
And when the cameras were off, you know what he was doing? He was helping me on the art. He was helping me fill in black areas and stuff. Like,
wow.
While the cameras are off, nobody's there. He's not showing off for anybody. He says, "Hey, Mike, do you need any help?" It's crazy.
That's fantastic.
Being a human.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's great.
So yeah, that was really fun, and it's yet another one of many things in my life that I owe to Taki because I originally said no. I didn't want to do it. For those of you who question why so many of us hate the president, hate's a strong word. I don't want to use that. I grew up in Jersey. He's always been a horrible business person who stole money from people, and it's just a shit. Yeah, and so I didn't want to do the show. I was like, no, I'm not gonna. I don't want to go.
Yeah.
And but then Taki's like, this is not about him. This is an interesting opportunity. And she made me see the light, so I went to go see it, and we did it. And I'm glad that I did it, but it was weird.
I understand it. I'm glad you guys did it. That's fantastic, and really interesting experience. And
Yeah, I'd love to tell you what happened behind the scenes, off camera.
Well, the next time when we're back to traveling and stuff, because man, I'm so stupid, guys. I'm so sorry. I spent 5 days in Portland. I didn't even think. I assumed you guys would be at Rose City, and I'd be like, I'll see everybody there and whatever. I was so done with that whole trip because the people that did go to Rose City were too busy because it was a convention weekend. Rucka had Stumptown ready to premiere, and it had the big preview and stuff there. So they were really busy, Rucka and Jen. And Matt and Mel were busy, and Brian had no choice. I mean, I'm like, can I do a mother-in-law stay and be there like for 5 days? He's like, absolutely, that'd be great. So he was awesome. So yeah, but I'm like, I'll see everybody. It'll be fantastic. And it's like I saw I thank God Jeff Parker. I hung out with Jeff, and I hung out with Steve Lieber, and then just outer towners that were there at the convention. We ended up having dinner like Charles Soule and Matt Rosenberg and people like that. So, I mean, I still had a great time, but I'm like, dumbass, next time go on a non-convention weekend and then spend some time with everybody.
No, that's okay. We dropped the ball too. I mean, at least you were distracted doing stuff, and we knew you were coming in town, and we just never, 2 + 2. Oh, let's get together.
Yeah.
Life gets in the way. It's totally cool, man.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're such, I don't know what the word is.
Homebodies.
Homebodies is a good word because we're not like shut-ins. We're not, but we just don't go out.
Yeah.
And we kind of joke, but it's very true. Like, with this, the pandemic and being locked in.
Our lifestyle actually hasn't changed much.
Yeah.
because ever since I've been diagnosed, our lifestyle really, switched. We became a lot less social, and we're just trying to figure it out.
Totally.
And literally, like, I feel like, I'm on new medication too, and I feel a lot better, in recent months.
That's
and
wonderful.
I think I'm ready to like actually be a little bit more social. And
yeah. And like we don't need to get out much. Like honestly, before this, I'd get together with David Walker probably every other week for coffee.
Fun.
Taki would come with us, or he'd come over here, and we go have dinner at Brian's like twice a month or something. So it wasn't a lot, but it's shocking how if you take away those 3 or 4 times you went out over like a 2-month or however long it's been period, now it does get to you, man. It's crazy. You need human contact. Like it's interesting.
I'll tell you, man, I having the leg infection last year kind of got me used to, because even though like I spent 5 weeks in the hospital and then they wouldn't let me go to work right away. So I spent another 2 months kind of in the same situation where they limited my walking.
God.
It's totally fine. Honestly, guys.
Yeah, I know it's fine now, but geez.
Well, I'm lucky because it could have gotten really bad. I mean, they were like the first couple of weeks. I think I've told this story on the air where they're like, we think we're reasonably certain we can save your leg and we won't have to, but there's an outside. I know. And so I'm like, well, then I'm going to need a lot of drugs if I'm going to be sitting here with that possibility. And they're like, yeah, we got you covered. Don't worry.
Oh my God.
And it was great because, and truly, you appreciate coming out of it, and I'm trying to take better care of myself. And it wasn't diabetes related. I want everyone to understand that, because that could be a mistake. So, geez, right now I see a little comment that I'm going to have to block this person. I'll have to figure out how to do that because they're saying incredibly terrible things right now. There we go. And he's gone. Bye-bye, everybody. Isn't that horrible?
It's fine.
Jesus.
The strongest, the best skill you can learn on the internet is how to ignore things.
I understand. But there were a couple of guys when I first started doing this that got kind of shitty with Liefeld. And it's like, hey, man, I don't care what your problems with Rob is. Rob is, as I always say, and it really wasn't directed at you guys. It was directed at somebody that we just mentioned. And it's like, hey, Rob's my guest, and the operative word is guest. And I don't invite people into my living room to tell them, what sucks about you?
Exactly. No. Yeah. It's either you ignore them or you block them. Yep.
Yeah. And let's not forget, like, whatever differences there may or may not be, we're in the same industry. In the same industry, it gets a lot of the same kind of negativity will be shot towards you and me, and as Rob and as anybody else. So like the last thing we need to do is to be attacking each other. I was on a radio show, and one of the questions I got was about Rob, and it was really ugly and stuff. And I just told the guy, just ignore it and just move on, because it's just stupid.
Attaboy.
Why even acknowledge that?
No, you're right about that. Yep.
Yeah.
So, well, it's fine. Blocked anyway. I was going to ask about when you guys were working, because Tuck, didn't you also work on Dick Tracy with Mike?
Yeah, I did.
I loved it. I mean, seriously, man. And again, a character that absolutely fits Mike's style. And I mean, again, coming from Chicago and the Tribune and stuff, where Chester Gould created Dick Tracy, I'm a massive fan, and I think it's such an important part of comics history that sometimes again kind of slips through the cracks. So how was that whole experience for you guys?
That was another, well, it was a bucket list thing that I didn't know was a bucket list thing, and there was a small chance way back in, I don't remember the year because I'm old.
I know this story. Go on. Yeah.
Brian Bendis and I had a real opportunity to do Dick Tracy, and I think it was actually for the Tribune. I think it was the strip. Like, it wasn't just a comic or spin-off thing. And so I was a little bummed that I couldn't get this to happen. With Brian. That said, he gave me his blessings and he helped me with research and stuff. And I went full blast into it and had a shockingly good time. Taki and I just had the best time together. The letterer we worked on there, Sean Lee, I was so impressed with what he did that he's lettering the After Realm and probably anything else we've got going forward as well.
That's outstanding.
Yeah, it was just so fun. And it was really intimidating because I was like, I have to build not only a story that's just a good narrative, I have to build stories that are great for Dick Tracy, and I want to keep the real hardcore Dick Tracy fans in mind. I know I won't be able to be everything to everybody and all that stuff, and you don't want to even try that, but I definitely kept them in mind and did my best. And generally, people were very, very kind and friendly towards me. Even if they didn't like they would be very complimentary, and then there'd be like a list of character things or whatever. But I kind of love that because I come from comics, and that's our thing, right? We're nerdy and specific and fetishy about our characters and stuff. So yeah, just a great experience.
That's awesome, man. No, it was a lot of fun, and I did kind of remember your first near chance to work with Dick Tracy. Of all people, Warren Beatty getting in the way of that.
I know.
And pulling, I mean, it's a great story. I don't want people to not hear it. And it's something that Brian and I have covered before on the podcast. But am I right? When he made his initial deal for the Disney movie for Dick Tracy, he had an option for a second movie, and he, to stop you guys, had some kind of, and I'm calling it this, some kind of BS sort of TV special that he was working on.
I saw it, and it was insane is probably the best words I could come up with. Not like, but insane, like go watch it. Insane, like it was nuts. He did an interview as Dick Tracy, but sort of also knowing that he's a fictional character as Dick Tracy.
Well, you gotta admire his
dedication. He did
his dedication to the character.
He unquestionably loved the kid. Yeah. He unquestionably loved the character, so all right.
It's very diplomatic of you, Taki. I love that. Fantastic. I all I know is and hey man, listen, I like the Tracy movie, the Disney movie. I think it was fun, and it was obviously things have moved on and become different since then. But he was making a parody, and I think it was a successful parody. I really like that movie.
Yeah, I loved it, and like I said, the whole experience was great. The Tribune was amazing to work with, because I gotta tell you, I typically will say no to any licensed project because they're almost always a nightmare.
Sure.
And the only reason I said yes to this was I called up Allred, who had just done a series. And I was like, well, what was your working experience like? And I knew Mike would tell me, straight up. And he's like, yeah, they were incredibly hands off. And I tell you, I had one note the entire time. And I did, and it's not time travel, but there's, it goes from the year he was created to 100 years later.
Right.
And there was only one note, and it was just some verbiage about like referring to criminals as nutbags or something like that. Because of sort of the mental health aspect of it, but
sure. Yeah.
I thought it's fine because they're criminals and they're all clinically insane. So no big deal. Great. It was awesome. So it was a really great experience working with the Tribune, and I had help from a very informative fan of Dick Tracy, guy named Dave Amiot. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. He was a really big help for me to get like reference and to sort of understand some of the history and stuff. And there was like a Facebook group that was helpful and very kind.
Oh, so, that's awesome, man.
Time.
My first group of Word Balloon interviews, and especially this week where I'm celebrating my 15th anniversary, but my initial intent with Word Balloon was to do a video documentary, and one of the people I interviewed was Max Allan Collins. And, and obviously we talked a lot about when he worked on the strip. I mean, he was the guy after Chester Gould, stepped down. He was the next writer, and even was working with Dick Locher, the original artist, after Gould had, passed on the art chores and stuff. I keep meaning to talk to Joe Staten about doing the Tracy strip.
I love what Joe's doing on the strip. Like his art is obviously made for it. It's just fantastic. And I definitely looked at a lot of that stuff when I was working on it. And there's a lot of Gould's work, of course. And studying Gould's work was interesting because of the way he approached, like he was kind of limited, and I don't mean limited in his talent, but like he chose a very thin, narrow alleyway in which to approach his storytelling. And that was fascinating. Like, you know, I learned a lot about. I'm all about simplicity, but I learned even more about simplicity through Chester Gould and through his work. And also the histrionics behind that stuff was just all really fascinating. You know, he hadn't really drawn anything else before. He was a fan of this other strip, which he just kind of imitated, and that led into that thing. And weirdly, how much of his made up fictionalized crime fighting actualized itself with real detectives. Like I think the wiretap came from him or something like that, or the phone tap. There was a couple other things that he invented in the strip that later on became like you know, real police procedural stuff. It's pretty nuts.
That's cool, man. I'm zooming in on your art to get a better look at the. There we go.
So this
is that Dina?
No, this is from the After Realm.
Oh, cool.
So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll draw in my sketchbook my ideas first.
Sure.
Like even though I work digitally a lot, I also see if I can focus again.
That's good.
There's still something about drawing analog. Some of it's as simple as when you're drawing, the pen will dig into paper, you know, like just a little bit. I'll shout out to Books with Pictures.
Nice.
It's a store here in Portland. I did a drawing of Katie when I saw her route. She's one of these. She's delivering all of her comics by hand at this point. But anyway, what I love about like it digs into the paper and into this way that I can't get to happen on digitally. Yeah, and even where the pen stops and changes directions, there's these little tiny bits of like bleed a little, and they're almost imperceptible. I can see them. I think other artists could probably see them or know that they're there. I don't think that most readers know that they're there, but they'll sense it. You know, kind of like I guess good music or cinematography in a film or something. You're not sitting there thinking about, oh wow, I love how that light suit fracting off of the, you know, blah blah or whatever. But it does bring this extra energy to stuff. So that's why I'll do that analog. Then I'll scan them in. I'll either process it in Photoshop, which I did here. Like you probably see this light blue that I printed it out in.
Yeah.
Or I'll just print it out just as a regular black and white thing, and then lightbox it.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. That's awesome, man.
And I go back and forth because sometimes it depends on the mood. Sometimes it's all about time. Like digital is so much faster than analog.
That's great.
Also, you can't smear your ink.
Of course.
Which is the real pain, and especially because I started using some quills because I started watching some manga videos. This guy, Akihito Yoshitori, I think his name is. And it's just him inking and drawing for hours on end, not saying anything, just a close-up. And I fell in love with the pens that he was using. So I started using that, but they take forever to dry to the point I'm thinking of like getting a blow dryer or something.
Couple comments from the Peanut Gallery. Michael Perlman just found your Apprentice episode from March 2009. Listen to this lineup that you were working with: Clint Black, the country singer, Dennis Rodman. How about that?
Nice.
That was great.
Annie Duke, the poker player. Sounds like there's a Rodman story. Of course, Tom Green. Scott Hamilton.
That's right.
Is that Scott? I don't remember him. Is he?
He's an ice skater.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. Okay, very cool.
Yeah.
And then maybe the football player you were thinking of, Herschel Walker.
Yeah.
There you go. He was a sweet dude. He was really nice.
Oh, that's great to hear. That's wonderful to hear. Khloe Kardashian.
Yeah, I don't think I saw her at all.
I don't think I saw her. Or I don't think I was aware of who she was. So if I saw her, I wouldn't have recognized her.
I understand. Jesse James.
Oh yeah, the bike guy, right?
Yeah. And Melissa Rivers.
Yes.
Yeah, we didn't have any interaction with Rivers or anything. Although Ivan did. You should get Ivan Brano on the show. He's done a lot of like traveling and stuff, and he had a great experience there too, working with a whole other group of people.
Yeah. So So Mike worked with the dudes.
Okay.
Oh yeah. It was male female kind of team off.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yes. Now I remember that. That's cool.
Thank you, Mr. Perlman.
Absolutely. Dave Fowley, the current Thor storyline, has him as a herald of Galactus. And your What If story with Kirkman did it first. Did you enjoy working on that one-shot story?
Oh God, that was so fun. And there's something about that issue. Every now and then there's an issue of something that it clicks in just the right way.
Mm-hmm.
And my style was transitioning a bit from like super cartoony to slightly less cartoony. And I hit this really sweet spot where I was drawing all the figures still very cartoonishly, but then rendering on like a more of a pen and detailed style and stuff. So it's still some of my favorite art stuff that I've done, even though it was much older. And working with Kirkman on it was a real blast. And it was one of those things. Yeah, it was just so cool. I mean, I got to draw the Warriors 3. And what?
Keep drawing. You're looking at John, but he can't see you.
Oh yeah.
Oh, hilarious! That's all right.
Yeah, so I was really, really happy with that. And I haven't checked. Unfortunately, I haven't read any new comics in a while, but I'm looking forward to. There's a nice thread today about my run on Thor, and Donny Cates about to write it.
Yep.
Or maybe has been. I'm not sure.
He's already on the book, but yeah, you're right. No, he's got a couple issues already out there, but yeah,
awesome.
That's cool.
Check it out.
And mentioning both your run on Thor, you got to do a version of Ragnarok, which was pretty cool. I remember that quite well. But well before that, man, Hammer of the Gods, one of the right alongside Powers, Mike. Hammer of the Gods, and a little bit later, because I believe it came out a little bit later, the Parliament of Justice one shot. All that stuff hit me around the same time, and I'm like, this Oeming guy, I kind of like his stuff, man.
Oh, thanks so much, man.
Kind of, exactly. No, it was great. It truly grew on me quickly, and it's something else about both Powers and Hammer of the Gods, Mike, and we've talked about it before, but people might remember, because I don't even know if they do this anymore, but when the internet was still a baby, alongside of it, when you went to comic book stores, Comic Shop News was a great little, newspaper kind of quality bulletin of what was going on in comics, and they would have strips of Powers and Hammer of the Gods, right?
Yeah, I mean, both of those books were successful out of the gate, and I credit comic. I'm sorry, was it called Comic Shop News or
something like that? And if I'm getting the title wrong, I'm sure the Peanut Gallery will help and let me know.
Yeah, and I apologize because there was a lot of trade magazines at the time, But anyway, that was definitely a huge help. It was a great way to get people to see your work, because pre-internet, it was really hard to get to just let people know your book was coming out.
Sure. So yeah, I don't know how long the strips ran in that newspaper or whatever.
Mark Wheatley set us up for the Hammer of the Gods one, and I think it lasted maybe a month or something, which was this nice precursor to like I did this with After Realm, where I put up some After Realm stories on Line Webtoon.
Cool.
Yeah, and I've been doing a lot of this now, where especially because I tend to work ahead of schedule. Because I like to work on a lot of projects and multiple things at once. The way I do it is, as soon as I want to start working on something, I just start working on it. I worry about deadlines and how I'm going to put it out later. So by the time I'm ready to put it out, I've invested pages that are done, and that makes it easier to do stuff like to put out a free story online, like with this, besides Webtoons, on the Image website, there's a free After Realm story that I drew just for the website. And I drew it at a time where I knew I hadn't had the deal yet with Image. We hadn't had a real agreement to do a short story on the website or anything. I just did it.
Interesting.
Figuring I would either put it on the Image site or it'll go someplace else.
Is any of your other work online Webtoon? It's funny, Heidi McDonald and I were talking, and during this period where Diamond is shut down, we were talking about not only Panel Syndicate, but she brought up, and she's like, hey, Line Webtoon's not going out of business, they're doing fine. And I don't know if you've put any other stuff up there.
I'm talking to them about some other stuff, so we'll see.
Cool.
Yeah. But I mean, it makes sense because I guess we're going to talk about this stuff. I mean, what so I've tuned out a little bit in the last couple of weeks because of sanity.
I understand.
So where are things at right now? How do you see the market going, and what do you think about like Marvel doing some digital first stuff? And you think
Well, digital, not only digital first, digital only stuff too.
That's what I mean. Yeah, digital only.
Yeah, I talked to Matthew Rosenberg about Hawkeye, and Hawkeye will finish its 2 issues digital only, and then will be a collected trade. I'm shrugging, Mike. I mean, and Talk, I don't know what your feelings are, but I'm really, so much is going to change even when things free up completely nationally and not only state by state. Diamond is coming back May 20th, and they're gonna start, books will be available, and certainly the stores that are still on lockdown will be able to offer hopefully curbside service, or I know here in Chicago several stores are offering delivery to your door, no different than food or anything like that, so which will help them survive. But Heidi and I were talking, I mean, think of how, and especially as artists, your thoughts on like the browsing experience at a comic store. We can't touch books anymore. We can't flip through books like we used to be.
Yeah.
And doesn't that make the covers more important to really sell the books? I mean, and luckily I would imagine that there will still be the resources of going online and seeing interiors. But again, it's that discovery moment at the comic shop that may go away for who knows how long. Yeah,
it's tough. I mean, one of the things that I don't know. I don't know if it's generational or not, though, because like years ago, I switched all of my music digitally. Like I fed it all into my computer and burned everything. I started doing the same thing with my movies.
Sure.
And after a period of time, I really regretted it. Like the tangibility factor. Like if you want to watch a movie, right, looking at your DVD shelf is a completely different experience than looking at a bunch of files.
You bet.
That have a word on it, right? Yep. I don't know why that is. I just know it's true. I don't know if it's true for newer, younger generations of people. So I don't know. It's just all unknown.
Well, I think we just have to make do with what we can do in this situation. We have no control over anything, and we just have to try.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, and who knows? I don't know if it's going to permanently change the way comics are delivered and enjoyed. I don't know. Or maybe it will go back to exactly what it was before. Who knows?
I hear
I'm glad people and companies and publishers are trying new things to try to, keep up with it. And I think that's something to be celebrated over.
Well, you're right. And I think when we are caught in a limited situation, that is when creativity solves these problems. And we'll see how everyone kind of, figures it out. Again, talking to Joe Pruitt over at Aftershock, he was telling me, and it's on the podcast now, that in the fall, he's going to introduce a lot of one-shots. And he reached out to a bunch of creators that were kind of dealing with the whole pencils down situation.
Sure.
When the distributor can't distribute the book, publishers can't pay the artist to generate pages. But Joe kind of had this plan, and he says he's constantly tinkering with the format of comics, and he just is going to be doing these 40-page one-shots, and reached out to a bunch of creators to do special projects for him.
There's a handful of my creator-owned projects that I did as one-shots like that. And it's interesting, at least at the time, it paid off as far as getting my idea out and having to be profitable because it couldn't go anywhere to fail. But it also meant that you didn't have anything to follow up on, so it was hard to like build a momentum off of it. But that was a different time. And I think now people are much more open to self-contained single idea stories as opposed to, it has to be a series or it has to be a graphic novel, especially with new ways of getting stuff out. There's the Kickstarter and Indiegogo and other crowdfunding forms. And I've got a bunch of stuff that's basically done, honestly, that I'm waiting to release at the right time, that are these one-shots like that. And I think we'll see more of that in the industry. Hopefully we'll also see more of a harmonious balance between print comics and digital comics, because I don't think other countries have the same problem that we have when it comes to reading digitally like a preference, this weird pushback, or the fear that because you're going to do some digital that you won't do any analog, or I mean, people double dip even and stuff. But these are all unknowns. There are no sort of things that we're going to have to figure out. We might have to do it not out of choice, but out of just pure necessity.
Totally, absolutely, and that's why I don't fault either company for the moves that they've made. DC with these new distribution arenas, and I keep referring to the new distributors by their comic shop names, and that being Midtown Comics and Discount Comic Book Service, DCBS.
What else are you gonna do?
Right.
I mean,
exactly.
You gotta get it out, and I first saw a bunch of concerns or worries about all the things that could go wrong with these, the new distribution deals, and I'm like, yeah, those could go wrong, but what else would go wrong? Sitting on our thumbs for another how long?
Yeah.
Because the scary fact is, before this, I'm not saying anything new here. Comic book stores were all struggling. Most of them, they don't have huge margins. So even if we get saved by the fundraising and stores are opening back up again, there's also this domino effect of the larger economic concerns. And I'm no economic dude. I don't know the terms even, but I know that 6 months from now, there are going to be consequences for things happening now, even for stores that are open now. They're going to close. More stores will close. And at what point do we not even have enough of retail stores to really sustain an industry?
I hear you, man. I know.
That doesn't mean it will go away, but not that form of it anymore. Hopefully not.
It is this domino effect of not as many stores, not as much revenue, and the whole thing. So
because personally, we're doing okay money wise, but we are holding on to it like we've got nothing coming in because. Again, I'm looking ahead at 6 months from now, what might happen. We don't know.
Right. No, you're right. Hisham Zubi says, I just realized that John's video feed is the comic book version of Edward R. Murrow's Person to Person. Now, that's a reference. Oh, good. I'm so glad you guys know what that means. All right, fine. Good.
Nice.
So, yeah, I'll take it. Hello, Groucho. It's wonderful to see you in your home. Hello, Marilyn Monroe. It's a pleasure to talk to you in your home. That's what that show was in the 50s. They're on YouTube if people don't know what we're talking about. But yes, I've been making the same references, man. So I get it. So,
nice.
Too funny. God, guys, honestly, what else? We can wrap up or whatever. If you still are happy to talk, it's up to you guys.
I'll put that back up here.
I mean, I don't want to take your whole evening. So. Mike Perlman thanks us for a fun discussion, and that's lovely.
We're in a pandemic lockdown, we have nowhere to go.
We can keep talking. It's all good.
Please help us.
It's good. No, and seriously, man, it's great. It's great to see you both, and So, are there other genres that you guys want to do? You had, what was your book that really was a great relationship book, and it's something we covered in your Art of Oeming, and it was a couple. They had powers. I can't remember the name of it, but yeah,
Rapture.
The Rapture, of course.
Yeah, that was a superhero romance apocalypse book. Yeah.
Well, and are there other genres that you guys want to tackle? Is there a Western in you, Mike? Can I see it? I mean, do you give a damn about a Western? Would you?
I would never say no, but me personally, I don't. I have a file of stories I want to do. I don't have a Western in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
What genres? Because I don't want you to spoil. But yeah, tell us. What are you thinking about as a writer and things you want to explore?
I have a lot of what? Well, yeah, I've got a lot of comedy going on.
Good.
As well as what's that term I always forget? The hyper realism, where
magical
realism stuff. So a real life situation or environment with just one magical thing that's happening, invisibly to a person or persons.
Okay.
Kind of situations. A lot of God stories. No, I have a
Okay.
yes.
And
Yeah.
the biography stuff.
Well, yeah, and I have a kind of a autobiography thing going on where I just kind of try to tell each segment of the story in 4 pages or less.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and I gotta toot my own horn. I think I had an incredibly unique life. So I have a lot to say, a lot to share. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, she
That's
just
awesome.
put a bunch of these stories together. And you know, that's what we do. It's like we just go, we don't have a necessarily like a release plan for it or anything. We just start building on the work and then we figure out like where it's gonna go from there. And yeah, those stories are just they're everything from like heartbreaking to like funny stuff. She's putting a lot of funny stuff in there because a lot of dark shit.
That's fantastic, and I'm glad you're thinking in those directions. Is this your first Kickstarter, or have you done other Kickstarters in the past?
No, this is the first one. I mean, we did one for issue 1.
Right.
Okay. This is the first, and I gotta say, I love it. I was shocked. I knew there was a lot of work going into it. So I'm talking to our friends who have done it, but really the connectivity with the readers is different than anywhere else, any other platform that I have. So I'm really enjoying it, and unquestionably, I'm going to be doing more, and in different ones. I might try some of the different platforms. One of my thinking on that is that After Realm is, I don't want to call it all ages, but it's it's a hard PG, and I've got some other stuff that isn't, and I don't know that I even want them on the same platform. Not that I think there's kids on Kickstarter buying my stuff, but just to keep them in different arenas might be a good idea.
Or just try things. I just think it's interesting to just dive into scary arenas and kind of figure it out. The Kickstarter was a very scary thing, but I'm glad we did it.
Yeah.
Did you guys have a guru or anybody that like somebody that's been doing it a lot to help you out?
I'd say we had like 3 people really.
Yeah.
David Walker, who's been through it just recently. Mike Hawthorne has done a few, and he specifically hooked us up with a friend of his who's also a great artist and writer and creator in his own right, Jeff McComsky. I've never said his name out loud before, so I apologize.
Okay.
And he's been helping me with the Phil stuff. So like he does his own Kickstarters. He helps run Mike Hawthorne's over in Pennsylvania, and so I send him the stuff. He helps me figure it out because.
Oh, and he we can consult him on a bunch of stuff too, like especially the first campaign, we were completely clueless. We're like, so are we wording this correctly?
Yeah.
How does this work? Like he was a real good resource for that. Also,
between just the regular workflow that we have, and not to lay it on MS as an excuse for everything, but we just don't have the bandwidth to do the stuff we'd like to do, like the packing and signing the books, and all that kind of stuff. But we just there's only so much time in a day.
Yeah.
No, I don't blame you. Absolutely, man.
It's a reason.
Yeah.
No, I don't blame you at all. That all makes sense. And Talk, honestly, I've got a friend who I've known him for almost 30 years, and the entire time I've known him, he's been dealing with MS, and he's a productive guy, and he's doing great. And I know it's still more recent enough for you to I hope that and I'm sure you've met other people too that have told us.
Absolutely.
I'm really glad that you're on a medication that's making you comfortable as well. So.
Yeah, that was that made a lot of difference, on a day to day, for sure. But yeah, I don't know. It's such a weird disease. It affects almost every single person very differently from each other. There's common symptoms, sure, but symptoms they love to come and go.
That's what I've heard.
Which was one of the reasons a lot of doctors before I was diagnosed was like, you're making it up, you're crazy, you're having a panic attack, go home. And I can't blame them.
It was hard to nail down and to figure out. Like it was really hard, and we were trying to figure this out. How long before you were diagnosed do you think we were really?
Toward the end, I think I was going to the doctors, I don't know, every other week at least, for 3 months.
Yeah, but even longer than that. The 3 months is when it got bad.
Yeah.
But it had been affecting her long before that. And
Sure.
There had been like conventions that we'd skipped because we just couldn't tell what was going on. Friends who we'd stopped seeing because we just didn't have the energy, and
and I was just constantly sick, but I couldn't really pin down like why I was sick. Like I'm just feeling not good.
I got to tell you, like we know that women are treated differently by doctors. Like you hear it all the time, and you read about it and you see interviews. But when you actually see it happening right in front of you, it's something else, man. And it happened with both male and female doctors just dismissing her, telling her that she's like paranoid or, oh, you're having an anxiety attack, and like she'll tell them like, yes, I'm anxious, but I'm not having an anxiety attack. I'm
anxious for the right amount of reasons because I'm feeling these things.
Then they'd continue to tell her that she was having too much anxiety. Then I would repeat what she just said, and then I would go, oh, okay.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, buddy. Yeah, more grist for the autobiography, I suppose.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. That was one of the stories, was about the diagnosis and stuff.
I have no doubt. Well, what are you guys doing to entertain yourselves beyond being creative and stuff? And tell me about the TV and films you're watching while we're in lockdown, because that's always the great thing, man. I expect that from you and Bendis and Rucka and Fraction, and Ed Brubaker was great. Just gave me a nice reading and watching list.
We do a weird thing when we're under stress, and unfortunately, we've been under a lot of stress. It seems like since 2016, where I think this house that we moved into is cursed. There's all these paradise
beautiful
things keep happening, but so we go the opposite way. Instead of like really diving deep into like really heavy stuff, we just find the shittiest stuff that's barely interesting enough to pay attention to. We could walk away from at any time. So like I remember we binged like 500-Pound Life and like cooking shows and just a lot of murder stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we did rewatch Succession.
Sure, great show.
Oh my god,
great show, absolutely.
Yeah.
Brian,
after Roman,
Brian clued me in on that, and I'm like, he's like, you gotta watch it. I'm like, all right, and I'm like,
it's comedy.
It's great.
And I get when people say, I don't want to watch a show about horrible people, because it feels like some sort of reward for this sort of behavior, but they really are horrible, and but they're so well written, they're so dimensional. But if something bad happens to them, you just go, oh wait, yeah, they're a shithead. That's okay.
And the comedy in it is so unique, like when I first watched it, I didn't know it was a comedy, so I was like really confused by like the camera movements and stuff like that. I'm like, why is it like jarring like that? And at the end of the episode, I'm like, oh, it's a comedy. Oh, I get it. I get it, but it's different. It's not
totally
your typical comedy. Yeah.
So we rewatched that. Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul. Of course we're still watching that, and
so good.
It's just masterful. Kim's character and the depth in Saul's character is insane. Like now we're starting to wonder, like,
wait, we can't say, just in case somebody's no. Oh.
Yeah.
I understand. That's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. My buddy Julie was on the first season of Saul, and Shane. She's Betsy or Betty. I forget. She's like the first. She's the couple. Shame on me. Julianne Emery is her name. Right now, she's on Bosch. She's on the new season of Bosch on Amazon Prime. And I would say she's like the queen of basic cable and streaming, because first season of Better Call Saul, she had a prominent role. First season on Fargo. She worked with Eddie Izzard on The Riches back on FX and stuff.
Oh, wow.
She was Clooney's wife in Catch-22 on Hulu, the adaptation they did there.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
She's great. I'm so proud of her because she's totally kicking ass.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
Well, and really, it's fun to talk to people, and I'm truly like your own experience with Powers and stuff. Just the way TV is changing. And
You know,
we're really,
I want to point out to people, like, because we hear this all the time. It's almost a cliche about, actors and how they quote are and stuff. When you see these celebrities acting out like that, they're just assholes. The 90% of them are like super fucking cool, right? Like,
they're people.
We've probably met, of all the actors, I'd say, like, let's say we met 20 actors, right? Like, known actors. We met 2 of them were a little difficult. That's it. Yeah, everybody's really, really cool. And thing about celebrity that always drives me nuts is like how people react to things that they say or do or their opinions. And while I love all the ones I met, you got to ask yourself, well, what have these people done to deserve our opinions? Like, like, so if they said the right or the wrong thing, who are they that's influential? They're not like a teacher or, they're just entertainers.
right.
Like, we got a lot to worry about in this world. Who cares what they think or whatever? Just, yeah.
I totally agree, man. And no, honestly, when I get the opportunity to talk to TV and film people, I want to talk to the writers mostly because, as I keep saying, they're the keepers of character. And I've seen a million press junkets with celebrities that are actively on television shows or film. And it's like, well, what do you think of what's going to happen with your character with a TV person? Like, I don't know. They're going to give me the script in 10 days and I'll figure it out, that kind of thing. And it's like, no, if you really want to know what makes Buffy and Angel tick, you talk to Tim Minear and Joss Whedon and, all the creatives behind shows like that. You don't, or Vince Gilligan with Saul and Breaking Bad and stuff. It's like, those are the people that will tell you what you're looking for.
Amazing about that stuff is, we write, we understand how it's done and how you build a character, how you build a plot and all this stuff. And I'm sure you're familiar with it. But doing it and doing it well on that level it's so different. It's so crazy, man. Like, I have such inspiration, such admiration for the writers who can slowly build a character like Kim Wetzel or, Saul Goodman. It's just it's this whole level. Like, I know what the ingredients are, and I can put it together. It kind of looks like a cake or something, but they're building a whole other pastry. I guess I'm getting hungry or snacky. I don't know.
Exactly. Well, I'm probably keeping you guys from dinner.
No, we already ate.
Did you? Good. Okay, good. All right, excellent.
TV and snacky. Mm-hmm.
What have you been watching?
Honestly, Tak, I'm mostly watching because I really have thrown myself into doing more podcasting and stuff and figuring out all that other stuff. So I usually have something familiar in the background. I did watch. I'm 3 episodes into Upload on Amazon Prime, which is made by the guy who made The Office. And it's really funny. And it's surprising that it's as funny as it is because it's a 45-minute comedy. And, mostly I think comedy does work in half-hour increments as opposed to drama. And it's really interesting. And I don't know how much you know about the show.
I just saw some of the ads and it did look interesting. And so hearing that you like it, I'll definitely give it a shot, man.
Yeah, I don't know about it.
I think the premise is like when how the idea is like when you die, you can have your consciousness uploaded. Mm-hmm. Well, it's like, well, what happens in the computer? What is your life like that?
Yeah, this company's created this virtual reality for people who have died, and this guy dies accidentally, finds himself as a young man in this environment. And it's really inventive, and it's great because it's a big comment on possibly where we're going. I mean, it's one of those 10 years into the future or 10 minutes from now kind of speculative sci-fi on that level, but it's very grounded.
Speaking of dead people, the other show that absolutely is mind-blowingly good, like not just funny, is good, is What We Do in the Shadows.
Oh, What We Do in the Shadows?
Like, it's a comedy show. And they use almost like a Douglas Adams like logic where it does make sense, but they'll get it to this bizarre conclusion and it makes sense and
real funny show.
Yeah.
And I like.
Oh my God.
It's weird. I spent 16 years in sports radio, and there are certain sports that I love, and I suppose baseball is one of them. Hank Azaria's Brockmire cracks me up, and it's on IFC.
Isn't that
Brockmire? It's he's a baseball play-by-play guy, and in this last final season, it's 10 years in the future, and he's made commissioner of baseball. And it's they were very prescient in their predictions. A virus hit society, and baseball is on the verge of collapse less than 10,000 spectators a game, and how they're dealing with it, and they decide to make this controversial play-by-play guy the commissioner of baseball. And I love Hank Azaria. I think he's really, really funny.
Man, that's witchcraft.
But no, let's see what else. Oh, you know what I haven't seen yet, but I really want to, is this new Netflix series called Hollywood. That's all about kind of the, what was happening behind the scenes, especially with people of color and people of different orientations as well. And I think that's really interesting. I don't know if you guys saw the documentary about this guy, Scotty, who claimed to be kind of the Hollywood part-time gigolo, but also like kind of the pimp for both women and male prostitutes. No. It's hilarious. It was on Stars, and his name is Scotty, and I can't remember the name of the full title of the film, but he supposedly had all the secrets of all the.
I remember hearing about this kind of stuff. That would be fun to watch. I just watched a really quirky documentary called Spaceship Earth.
Okay, is that Nat Geo show or?
Well, it's on Hulu, and it's a documentary about the Biodome biosphere experiment thing.
Yeah, Biosphere 2.
Yeah, which is funny because I was pretty young at the time. I mean, I was high school, but like from what I remember of it, I thought it was a legitimate like a NASA funded or MIT funded like a real thing, and it came out of it's not quite a cult, but like wacky theater people basically. I mean, really, that's what it is. And like even up to the end, they're doing wacky theater stuff. It's fascinating if you like weird. It's like if you like the outlandishness of Tiger King, but you don't want the animal cruelty, then this is good.
Okay. I can appreciate that. That's fantastic.
Yeah,
Jesus.
it was so strange, and kind of a happy ending.
Yeah. No harm, no foul kind of thing.
Okay.
You watch a lot of cult stuff, and usually it doesn't end that way.
Well, and I was going to ask Mike because I know another guy, the host of the Unexplained, the show we worked on. Jimmy Church is a guy that you know. And are you listening to his podcast still? Are there any other?
All the time, yeah.
Okay, good to hear.
Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, The Fade or Nots, hey.
Yeah, we listen to it all the time. Yeah.
And that's okay, Doc? He's kind of sucked you into this world, or were you already doing it independently before Mike and everything as far as getting into this crazy
I was
shit?
definitely into that kind of stuff when I was younger. And in my adulthood, I got really burned on it. Like when you're growing up and like they're like, oh, UFO finally revealed or whatever, and then like tune in on 8 o'clock on channel 7 or whatever, and you're just like, hell yeah. And you tune in and like nothing happened, right? And this kept happening over and over and over. So by the time I was like in my 20s, I was like, they're just I'm my heart's broken. I'm not into this. This is too much. And then he came into my life and he's like, hey.
Well, I played really dirty though. Like the way I got her to watch like Ancient Aliens and stuff, which again, like going back to earlier, like, I can't watch it anymore because like that's even spun off into its whole weird thing where there's people now who just believe it. They're not, it's not a show. They're now.
Yeah, it's not theater anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. But the way, and this is good advice for anybody who wants to get their spouse to watch a show, you just give them a back and neck massage while they're watching it. Just like Pavlovian response, like, rubbing her neck and she'll be like, oh yeah, David Wilcock. Okay, yeah.
Right. He's a good man, Tak. That's good.
Back into it.
A brainwash.
All right, yeah.
And then the irony now is like, what was the Navy or who just came out and just basically said, I think it was the Navy, just said, yeah, those UFO videos that came out last year, they're real. Here's our sources of them, like not a leaked source, but like they just handed it out and they're like, yeah, we don't know what this is.
Yeah.
And nobody cares.
Exactly, because there's enough weird shit going on in planet Earth. Are you kidding me? Yeah. Exactly.
They should change that UFO poster that says "I want to believe" to like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Mulder changes his poster now if the X-Files continued. That's hilarious. Yeah. So we mentioned Star Trek earlier. Are you watching the 2 new Star Treks?
No, I can't keep up with the streaming wars. I got rid of cable because it was so expensive.
We don't have CBS. Is that?
That's CBS.
Yeah, we don't have CBS, so yeah.
Yeah,
so we're streaming. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I will watch it sometime. I'd like to see it. It's not that I have anything against it. It's just you can only have so many streaming services. We all know.
Oh, totally. I was going to ask, what streaming services do you guys have?
Prime, HBO, Hulu, and
Netflix.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then like Roku will have some other channels. A lot of YouTube. You know, like I said, like Time Team. I love watching that stuff on YouTube. And
I don't know that one, but that's the show you mentioned earlier. Hey, I'm a big Tubi fan, and Tubi has a lot of gems that would fall under the radar. Gabe Hardman was mentioning that they have so many Werner Herzog films, his foreign language films and stuff.
Yeah, it's mostly like short stuff, right?
No, they have full-length movies, and it's hilarious because, like, if you really have to dig for the good stuff, because all the terrible, for a lack of better description, TNA movies that they used to show on Cinemax and stuff like that, or USA Up All Night, all that crap is right there. But you really have to dig.
USA Up All Night,
dude.
Oh
like,
my god,
we did watch. Yeah, I love like USA All Night and Night Flight. You know,
yes,
Night Flight. Now, Night Flight was awesome.
Yeah,
Up All Night. You know, you had TNA movies where they cut out the sex scenes. It's like, all right, what are we watching now?
It was outlandish. Those were I saw the Fish Head song and the video, and that was good stuff for us old people.
God.
I hear you, man. No, I got MTV debuted when I was a sophomore in high school.
I remember it would go off the air at midnight or whatever, and you'd be sad because now you had to, watch it.
So
but I'm really glad I grew up with television during the time that I did, like before streaming and stuff, because I had to watch. Like you mentioned Edward R. Murrow earlier, I never would know who he was, but I had to watch stuff because there was 3 main channels and a couple UHF channels, right? So you'd watch all this stuff that I'm sure some of it was just pure garbage. Like I love Gilligan's Island, but I don't need any of it. But there's other social stuff, especially history and like documentaries that I watched about, whether it was like Vietnam or civil rights movement and stuff that I never would have seen or been exposed to otherwise. Like now, there's no hunt and search for anything. It's just there. You just grab it. You can't accidentally watch something anymore.
And I think it's an interesting social observation experiment on my part, because as I said, I was teaching a bunch of 19 and 20-year-olds this year at Columbia College, and I had them put together a 60-second Seinfeld a radio commercial for the show. And one kid literally is like, so the Seinfeld show, was it a sketch comedy show?
Wow.
Like, no, it was, and I mean, they just had the audio clips from the show. I'm like, no, it was a sitcom. And so
like reruns don't really exist like they used to,
Well, and I'm like, how many people have, know this show? 5 hands went up of the 12. And I'm like, how many of you actually watched it? 2 hands. And I'm like, you're lucky I didn't give you I Love Lucy to cut off. And also this Chicken and I were talking about this, and it's not an excuse. It's a reality. Kids grow up with their own sphere of media from the moment that they're aware. And I don't even know what the current equivalent of Teletubbies is, but I mean, so much more so than the 3 of us, and what we grew up with and everything. And it's really interesting. And again, you can't blame them because they are being served 24/7 a product that is geared to their age.
Yeah.
And so why would they know any of that old stuff?
Yeah. I'm like, those kids that you're teaching, did you run into any of them who like don't actually watch television? Like they just watch it's YouTube clips, video game stuff.
No, they were still.
My son doesn't watch any TV shows. Like he watches other people play video games or clips of stuff.
Oh yeah, and there's definitely stuff like that. But Columbia College in Chicago is a creative school. So they want to be TV people. They want to be filmmakers and animation people. Although it was funny because one kid said he wanted to compare current animation to old school animation. And I said, what kind of stuff? He's like, oh, real old stuff like Ed, and Eddie and Dexter's Laboratory. And I just started laughing. And I'm like,
because what's funny is like, even though that's 2D, that was done in largely in this Flash program. So it was still like a giant step away from traditional hand-drawn 2D animation, even though it's 2D.
But it wasn't that long ago either.
Yes and no. I mean, because it was like 20 years ago or so. It was a generation.
But we're old, so it doesn't. 20 years doesn't really feel like,
Don't worry, Talk.
Really.
Yeah.
Don't worry. I think I probably still have a good 15 to 20 years on you. It's all right, buddy. You're doing fine. You're doing fine.
She's
So.
60 now.
Yeah.
Are you 60 now? Congratulations. You look good. Atta girl. Way to go. Man. Cradle robber.
Japanese secrets.
Outstanding. That's fantastic, man. All right, I'm gonna wrap up because this has been great, and I want you guys one more time to promote the Kickstarter and let people know where to go because it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, you just go to Kickstarter.com, and just search in After Realm, and it'll pop up. And it's the second one, and there's like 7 days left or so. But you can also follow me on Twitter, where I'll bury you in tweets about it. And I have a YouTube channel as well, where I'm doing a lot of process videos and such.
Oh, that's awesome, Mike. Is it just called Oeming? What's your YouTube channel?
I think so. And there's not too many Oemings online, so you just again search in Oeming, and my channel will come up. And there's just like there's basically two public channels. One is our process, and the other is just a collection of documentaries about comics and interviews and such. So this will end up on that list.
That's outstanding. Talk, where are you social media wise?
Just Twitter, I guess, and yeah, I think that's about it. I don't do a lot of social media stuff, but maybe I will more. I don't know.
Well, when you're ready to promote, that's cool. And you guys are always welcome back to even just hang out and talk. And honestly, you look great. I'm really glad that you guys are bearing up as you are as under these weird times.
Yeah.
And I can't thank you enough for doing this. This is great.
I appreciate the platform too, because we've stopped doing, even before Taki was getting sick and stuff, like we stopped doing cons. I'm just not out there the way I used to be, or that we used to be. We're pretty recluse. Even in a town full of comic book people, we don't see them. So yeah, I'll take you up on the offer. We'll pop up every now and then.
Mike, you've always had my back, and you and I talking on the message boards back in the day. It's honestly, thank you for still being
right
absolutely.
Back at you. Yeah,
my pleasure as always. So all right, take care of yourselves, and we'll talk soon. Be well.
Bye everybody. Thanks so much. Take care, pal.
And there we go. And that was Mike Oeming and Taki Soma. And I just want to say, as we wrap up, that we lost a great creator today, Marty Pasco, a good friend of mine. And if I talk too long about it, I'm going to get emotional, and I'm not going to do that on live TV. But I will just say that Marty and I have had a lot of conversations over the years. A good, really from 2006 to 2017, the last time he was on the show, and we talked a lot off the air, and he was a guy that would help me with writing questions as well, and tremendous word balloon conversations over the years. I was trying really hard in the last couple of years to get him back on the show, and just scheduling and weird stuff happening personally, me and him, that it just made it harder for us to get together. But I'm going to be releasing tonight, along with this audio of this great talk with Mike and Taki, a great word balloon conversation that we had over 2011 that was over the course of about 4 hours. But it really shows Marty's strengths as a comic book historian and talking about his great works as well over the years. So look forward to that tomorrow. And until next time, I want to thank everybody for watching, and we'll be doing more word balloon live videos in the days ahead. I will promote them closer to airtime. But thanks for coming out today, everybody, and I hope you enjoyed it. And we'll talk soon. Be well, stay safe, and stay healthy.